about mark rounding rules. I know everyone's been practicing their sailing a bit, and we've done a few races. So now we just want to get down to the nitty-gritty about the rules and what happens when you're really going around the mark. And this will really help you so that you can use the rules to your advantage, and also so you can understand them, and everyone's sailing a fair race. So before we start, I just wanted to go over a few of basic sailing terms that we've all been using, but that I think are concepts that are going to come up a bit in this lesson. So could I have a volunteer come up and help me with some of these definitions? Thanks, Greg. Okay, well right now Greg's going to choose one of these pages with the definitions, and if you just wouldn't mind reading out to us what they mean. So here we've got starboard.
So starboard is the right side of the boat. The windward side is the side of the boat closest to the wind. Port is the left side of the boat. And the leeward is the side of the boat furthest from the wind.
Okay, thank you, Greg. Alright, so these are all pretty basic terms. I know we've been using them a lot lately, but here we've, just to go over, starboard has precedence over port, so starboard has the right of way, and windward has the right of way over leeward. So what we're going to be doing now is expanding on these ideas about right of way that we already know, but in relation to mark rounding. So I'm just going to draw our nice windward mark here. Start lines down here, and yeah, we'll go over that. So all of the rules to do with mark rounding are in relation to what we call a zone. And a zone is 3 boat lengths away from the mark. So I'm going to draw that out for you here. So we've got 3 boats all the way around this mark. So that's about here. And it's in this zone that the mark rounding rules apply. And within this zone that you have the right of way. And so we have slightly different right of way rules than we know with starboard over port. So the mark rounding rules only apply when you are on the same tack. So both of you have to be on starboard, or both of you have to be on port. And when you're also, at the circle or within the zone of the circle, for these to be in effect. So what these rules really are, one of the biggest rules we have here is about overlap. So you're coming up to the mark. You're about to go around the windward mark and sail down. Hopefully you're in first at this point. And so we have a boat. Say this is you, and you are just on the point of entering this 3 boat length zone. And then we have another boat here, which is also trying to do the same thing as you and round this mark. Now, conveniently, we have what we call the overlap rule. And in this case, that means that one boat is parallel to the other boat, or at least one part of another boat is on top of the other boat. So here, the best way to describe that is if you look at the stern of this boat, and we draw a line all the way down. And can someone tell me what happened here? As I drew this line, what do we see happening? Where does this line go? Yes, Patrick.
Through the middle/front of the other boat? Exactly.
And what do you think that line represents as it goes through the boat?
Overlap?
It does represent overlap. Good job, thank you, Patrick. So this represents overlap. So this means, though, that these boats, as they are entering the 3 boat length zone and they're about to round the mark, that this boat, the outside boat, has to give room to the inside boat. Okay? Is that clear for everyone? So let's see. Now they're in the zone. They still have overlap. So what do I mean when I say they have to give room? In this case, room means that they have to stay their right course. So they're going to be, this boat wants to try and round the mark as best as possible, but he can only do that if he is sure that he's not going to have to change his course in order to not hit this boat above him and not hit the mark itself, because as we know that would be a penalty, and we don't want to hurt any of our boats either. So this person, the outside boat, has to give the inside boat enough room to get around this mark without doing any sort of damage, without hitting any obstructions, and with keeping the course that would be the fastest and get them to the finish the best, without having to change their position. All right, any questions up till now? Yes, Patrick.
If, let's say, you go a bit off course and you're trying to go around the mark, but you're outside of this 3 boat lengths zone.
So you're up here?
Yeah.
Okay.
Then, like, are you allowed to go around the mark like that, or are there other rules depending on if you're outside of the zone?
Yeah, that's a good question. Definitely, at this point here, you are you're above the mark, and the whole point of this race is you're supposed to be trying to get down the mark. So you ideally want your course to come back down here, right? However, you are outside of the 3 mark circle. So if there were other boats around you, then you would have to take note of them. But right now, you can kind of do your own thing, assuming that this is you up here. You have to be mindful of all these other boats, because they are still, let's see, they still technically are below you, right? And so, if we're looking at, need to give these people their right of room. What we often get actually is a pinwheel effect. And this happens a lot, especially in your level of racing, where we have everyone trying to round the mark at the same time. So, oops. I mean, sometimes it can be as much as 5 boats all the way out. Everyone's trying to round the mark. Now, in this case, which boat do we think has the right of way, or has the right to get room? Just point to pick one of them. Yes?
Is it the second from the top?
This one?
Yeah.
What does it have the right to do?
Does it have the right to supersede the boat that's overlapping on the top?
This one?
Yeah.
Yes, in theory it does. On the other hand, though, it is outside of the circle. But in this case here, we've got this. You want to be this boat. This boat is the one closest to the mark. So you're going to round the mark first. You're going to be the closest to the mark, and all of these other boats have to give you room. Okay? It gets a little trickier when we're outside this 3 boat length circle. But essentially, even if we took these, okay, let's take these boats out, because let's stick with the real zone here. So yeah, all 3 of these boats are inside the zone. So in this case, this is the inside boat, this is the outside boat, and also the inside boat of this boat. So you really would like to be this boat, because you can call room, and this means, though, that you're trying to get around without having to change your course, and that's why it's really not. Now I'll just talk about some brief things with overlap. If you, within the circle, if you are overlapping once you touch the circle, then it doesn't matter if you stop overlapping. If you break apart, so say you were overlapping at the start of the circle, the inside boat has the right of room. But then, you go along and one boat gets separated from the other. In this case, there's no overlap. The rule of giving room still applies if needed. because they were overlapping at the start. So it's at the beginning is where it really counts. However, actually let's keep this here. So say this is where you were on, say this boat is you, and this is where you are upon entering the circle, the zone, and you have this boat ahead of you. And you overtake this boat. And suddenly, just before this one's about to round the mark, you're overlapping, right? You cannot try and, actually let's put this boat, let's say you're down here. You cannot try and call room on this boat because you did not have an overlap at the entrance of the circle. Does that make any sense? Is everyone okay with that? Alright, any questions anyone has right now? Yes.
So the zone, is that something that's clearly marked in the water, or do you eyeball that?
That's a really good question. This zone is very much like our start line, and our start line and our zone are not marked in the water. These are imaginary, so they're pretty much based on guessing. So, I mean, if you're sailing something that's, I think if you sail enough races, you kind of get the sense of how large your boat is and how many boat lengths there are. But you're right, this is not regulated and standardized, so there's no line that's drawn in the water that says, these are 3 boat lengths. So usually this can be a bit of a tricky thing because if there's any question as to if there was actually room upon entering the zone in the circle, and who has the right of room based on overlap, generally it's very difficult to prove, and it's better to assume that you don't have room, but certainly fight for it if you think that it's your right. Yes. Just to wrap up, I guess we'll go over a few scenarios, and just call out in which case you think the boat has the right way. All right, so. Okay, in this case, here, I'll put it down there. Boat 1 and boat 2. In this case, does the boat have, which boat has the right of way or the right to room? Yes.
Boat 2?
Boat 2, and why is that?
Because there's overlapping margins of...
Yes, there is overlap. However, can anyone tell me why this might not be correct? Yes, Pat.
Because boat 1 would have the right of way due to the direction of the wind?
Closer, but still, there's something that I said at the very beginning of the lesson about the tack that we're on. So if you remember, I said that both boats, for this rule to work, both boats have to be on the same tack. So in this case, it may not be clear because of my drawing, but in this case, this boat is on starboard tack, and this boat is actually on port tack. So the rules aren't, because the tacks aren't equivalent, the rules don't apply. So let's try another example. Okay, again, boat 1 and boat 2. Which boat has the right to room?
Depends on when they entered the circle.
That's a very good point, Greg. It depends on when they entered the circle. So they are both on the same tack. There is clear overlap. But if they entered the circle looking like this, then yes, there is this boat, this inside boat, has the right to room. If this inside boat has sneaked up on this number 1 boat, then this boat does not have the right to room. All right, any other questions? Okay, well, I think we're going to finish up by going over some new definitions. We've got the definitions that we went over at the beginning from some of the previous lessons. And now we're going to add some of the new ones that we just learned as a bit of a review, all right? So, here I've got zone. Can I have a volunteer come up and give us a definition for zone? I've got a bunch of the definitions written out already. Yes, Pat. That's it.
The area around a mark within a distance of 3 hull lengths of the boat nearer to it.
Very good. Thank you, Pat. Okay, our next definition is mark room. Anyone?
To sail to the mark and maintain proper course at the mark.
Very good. Thank you, Greg. Okay, one of our last definitions. Overlap. Who's next? Somebody wasn't gone yet. Yes, thank you. There's only 2 left to choose from.
When any part of one boat is parallel with another boat?
Very good. And the final one, proper course. Will our paddle student come up?
Of course the boat would sail to finish first, no unnecessary tacks or jobs.
Very good, thank you. Okay. Well, I hope that you guys learned lots, and when we head out on the water later this afternoon, we can put these into practice, okay? Thank you, everyone.